To Mr. Wiggins, how would you deal with corruption within the sheriff department, if there is any? I haven't heard of any myself. I'm not a sheriff, but, we've heard of what happened with the gun trace task force, the Baltimore City Police Department. So how would you deal with that if it's a culture or a segment of the deputies or officers that's involved in that?
Well, that is where we would have a unit where we had proposed a internal affairs division and a government affairs. The current internal affairs unit would be transformed into a governmental affairs unit, and its mission would be to investigate complaints against sheriff's deputies, government officials, individuals, and corporations who have committed violations of the civil and criminal laws of Maryland. And that would include the Baltimore Police Department and the murder of Sean Suter, because the sheriff has a duty to investigate that murder. And I said last week, we don't need an independent outside source to come in and investigate that murder when we have a chief executive law enforcement officer who has abdicated his duty and his power to bring about peace in this city. We shouldn't have this culture of corruption. And I'm sorry, Stanley, I said it last week. You are an affable, nice person, but you are a part of that culture of corruption, that gun trace task force, that whole consent decree, all of it, the murder rate, the unsolved murders. We have to do better. And the sheriff has the duty to stand up where all the rest of the elected officials and law enforcement have failed, and to investigate these matters, open that door to the grand jury, and allow people to take their complaints to the grand jury, stop blocking the people's access and denying them the right to enforce constitutional law in this city. And that's what I would do.
So the first thing I would do is staff the internal affairs section with an experienced commander. That's priority number one. Establish a corruption hotline for both internal and external matters to make sure that the community have access to making those complaints. Encourage employees and citizens to report corruption immediately. Myself and my senior command must get notification of things that's been reported in corruption immediately, and we have to act on it. So you got to have a transparent system. I'm going to build that transparency system, and that's what I would do to deal with corruption within the sheriff's office.